Okay, great. So I'm just gonna ask you to sign this. It's just a consent form. It says I'm not gonna use your name in anything that I write. No personal information will be released.
I don't care. You can.
Oh, thank you. It's part of the Institutional Review Board.
Oh, please print. Well, I'll tell you how I feel. If I was all about privacy, I wouldn't be in this business.
That's a fair point.
And I wouldn't be on Facebook.
No. Yeah.
I don't get that. I'm pretty big on Facebook, and people say, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." This is the point of Facebook, is to be out there. And it's Veterans Day.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you, vets. Investigator? Wait a minute.
Nothing crazy here. Probably. I guess you can decide.
I didn't know I was being investigated.
Okay, and just for clarification, do I have permission to record this interview?
Absolutely. Do I have permission to record this interview?
Yes. Okay, so how long have you been working at the International Institute?
I'm coming up on 2 years.
Okay, and could you tell me about what kind of work you do at the agency?
I do, as you can see, a little bit of everything. I started there in childcare and in our summer programs with the youth. And as time progressed, I don't know what happened. They said, "Oh, you're pretty good at this. How about teaching the adults?" And so I started teaching adult classes, and at that time it was very minimal, but now I'm teaching all the adult classes, except for cultural orientation, and sometimes I do that. And I also, as you know, help set up apartments. I have gone shopping with caseworkers to get food for new arrivals. And last night, I did what you'll do today, is I went and picked up a family at the airport and brought them to their new home in America. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
That is cool.
So you just...
Everything.
There's no there's just no one job?
My official title is Case Aide, which allows me to be there for everyone.
Okay. Could you tell me more about what kind of teaching you do for the adults?
Well, I teach English as a second language, but a great deal of what I teach is, I guess you'd say, living in America, life skills in America. Some of these people that come, like now it's getting colder. Some of these people have never had to light a pilot light on a furnace, or even had a furnace.
I don't even know what that meant. What's a pilot light?
It's the little flame that lights the big flame that turns the heat on when the blower comes on to keep your house warm.
Oh, okay.
Okay, wow, surprise! Yeah, I mean, it's little things like that. I can tell you that I have a rather regimented system. I go from one day it might be about health and healthcare and how to deal with healthcare providers and how to be able to express in English what is hurting you so that the doctor can actually help you. From there we talk about housing, we talk about landlord-tenant issues and getting along with your neighbors, and if you have a problem, this is what you do. We talk about public safety on a certain day. Every day is a different lesson, and now that I'm doing all the classes, on Mondays and Wednesdays, I have them for 3 hours. And so I have, at this point, pretty much my own freedom to decide what class will be taught each hour, except for the one, and I've started moving that around. Another class I have is financial literacy, helping them understand how to handle their money in the U.S., what a bank account is, what a savings account is, what a budget is. Budgets are so important for these people because they're almost like senior citizens. They're on a very fixed income to start with, and so if they get all stupid really quick, then they're broke.
Right.
So that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. What motivated you to choose a career with the agency?
I was kidnapped. I'm going to tell you, as you know, I'm in television. And I had met our director, I won't say her name, at an event at the Erie Art Museum that I was there filming. And so it's made me ask, you know, what this, it made me curious. I mean, there's got to be a lot more to this. And so I went and visited her at the Institute. And I told her who I was and what I do. And then at that time, I was always a warehouse manager. I was making a lot more money. So the first thing I did, and she agreed, is I started filming a series of shows about the Institute, about the refugees. Because I had experienced here in Erie what I can describe only as bigotry, perhaps. You know, people were very unpleasant towards refugees, and they were like, oh, they're taking my benefits, they're taking my job. And I felt that if these people in Erie had a real understanding of what these people, these refugees went through prior to coming here, if they had some understanding, maybe they'd be a little more accepting.
Yeah.
And so we ran that show for the first year, and we have a series of shows. There were 4 shows that year, and we're still doing it. I think there were 5 shows this year, and I don't know how well it's working, but I feel like it's important to do what we can to get our message out so that people have a better understanding of what we do. So then on the other hand, as I told you, I mean, I was always in the warehouse business, I was always in the media business, I was in radio, I was in television, and we have youth summer programs, and we do them every summer, and it's a wonderful experience. And so somehow I tripped up, and I was at the Institute one day, and the 2 ladies were there, and one of them looked at me and said, you must have your child care clearances, don't you? And I said, yes, why? I need you. And I said no. I said no probably the first 2 times because I didn't feel like I was qualified. But they convinced me, and I was tired of working just to make people rich. And I thought, you know what, I'm getting on, as my brother says. Maybe I should do something worthwhile, something of value to give back, because I've been very fortunate.
Yeah.
And so I started working there, and I quit my job, a very lucrative job, and just went to work there. And I have never been the same. I will tell you that within the first few weeks or months, people noticed a difference in me. They said, Louis, you're so much happier. You're so much happier. What happened? And I says, well, I'm just doing something, and it's worthwhile. And you know, you've seen the kids.
Yeah.
They're a delight. They're just delightful. And you know, how can you not be happy? And so I'm really happy, and I think that's going to be my final resting place.
Yeah. Stay with the Institute
until I kick.
Yeah.
Because I don't see myself retiring.
No, that's fair. I don't think that's for everyone. So, shifting gears a little bit, do you personally identify with any ethnic group?
I don't know how to answer that. I think I feel like I identify with all of them because I've come to know them so well. I mean, I know one of the caseworkers is like my best friend. We were friends long before I came to work there, and he is in Nepali, and so I identify with him and his family, and I have been to a Nepalese wedding.
Really?
Yes. It's amazing. And I found it.
Really?
Yes, it's wonderful. I'll probably have a copy of it somewhere. I know he has a copy.
Yeah.
I don't know if I still have a copy. And so that was just, you know, it's so wonderful to be able to be my age and still learn and grow and see new things. And I identify with him, but honestly, I identify as well with the Syrian population that we have coming in. Simply because I have been very attuned to what they have been going through, and I just feel so desperately bad for them. It makes me so angry when someone says, well, we got to keep them out, they're all terrorists. Well, no, they're not. And you have met some of them, and they are some of the kindest, sweetest, humblest people you could hope to meet.
Yeah.
And they have shown me, I had one guy take his phone and show me the video. And I'm like, what is this? He's like, that's my daughter. This was our house. It's so amazing. I thought I was looking at black and white video. It was not. They were covered in dust.
Oh my God.
And they were all just white as snow. And I really feel bad for them. And I identify with them, and I have even visited with them and talked to them outside of work.
Yeah. How about with your family? What kind of ethnic background does your family have?
My family is pretty white bread. We immigrated to the United States in 1811 from England.
Oh, okay.
My personal family.
Yeah.
And some of us stayed north, some of us went south, and we actually had a brother against brother thing during the Civil War. I've actually researched my family. My wife's family is Polish and Slovenian. Mm-hmm. And so our children are a mix of these things.
And which refugee group have you interacted with the most?
Right now, it would have to be the Syrians because there's so many of them, they're coming. But basically, I only have like 3 groups, or 4 maybe. I have a lot of Syrians now, and I hope I can continue to get them before the doors start closing. But I have Syrians, Nepalese, I have a few Ukrainians here and there, and then I have Somalians and Swahili and Congolese. And so it's basically those 4, 5, 6 groups on a regular basis.
Okay.
And I see them every day because I teach every day. You know.
Oh, so these are your students?
Yeah. Everyone, it's so funny. I have everyone in the building, I have them from 0 to 60. Isn't it amazing? Because on lunch, and I'll show you the picture when we're done, at lunch I go with the babies.
Yeah.
And I play with the babies because I give the lady a break and I sit there and I play with the babies, and then I have toddlers, and then I have them every way up the line, all the way to their grandparents.
Wow.
So it's really cool, yeah. I'm very lucky.
So you know all of the family members?
I know the whole family.
That is amazing. So how long have you worked with Syrian refugees? This agency, specifically.
I guess pretty much from the beginning, so at least about 2 years. It seems like there's more of them lately, but yeah, at least a couple of years.
Okay. And so you can answer this question 2 ways. How would you characterize Syrian culture, or what would you consider are your successes and challenges personally working with Syrians?
Well, my biggest success is Google Translate, ladies and gentlemen. It's a free app from the Play Store, and I have made wonderful use of it. Because the biggest challenge is being able to communicate. You know, and the boss doesn't like me, I'll be honest, doesn't like me to use this because she believes in full immersion English. Right. And I understand that point because it's happened to me. I visited in Mexico. And at those times, we just had a little book, you know. And but just being there, you pick it up pretty quick. So the biggest challenge is just communication. And once you break through that barrier, then everything becomes so much easier once everybody understands each other. And as far as characterizing their culture, you know, again, like I said, I've seen them in their homes before they came here. And I really don't see a big difference. Yeah. You know, they're just people. They're just like us. They have hopes and dreams and aspirations, and they want to go to work, and they want to come home and have dinner. You know. Yeah. And even I've talked to them about this in class briefly about religion. And if you look at their religions and our religions, and even the Nepalese, there are common threads through all of it. You know, all of it is the same. Love your neighbor. You know, don't be. I don't want to say it. But you know, it's very much the same, and they even have the same rituals as we do. So in America, we celebrate Lent. For them, it's Ramadan.
Oh. Okay.
And their time of prayer and fasting is during that time, and it's about 40 days as well. And so it's very interesting. And if you go through their liturgical calendar, if you would want to call it that, and ours, you will see the dates aren't the same. But the holidays are pretty much the same. Yeah. So they're just like us.
That's really interesting. Could you tell me about any experiences you've had interacting with Syrians or Syrian culture before you started working with them at the agency?
I had probably interacted with Syrians before I worked at the agency and did not know it. Because like I say, I'm pretty much a man about town. I have this camera, and I've been doing the camera in the TV business for over decades, you know. And so I am out there. I have always been out there and interested and involved in the Erie community. This is just turned into an extension of that, a more focused extension of that because I'd always been working with nonprofits and trying to help people get their message out. And this is just more of that, I think. To me it is.
Yeah. Actually, I remember you saying this earlier. Could you actually tell me a bit more about what kind of bigotry you've seen? Because I'm not from Erie and I'm not really sure about.
Well, yeah, what has happened, and this is why, again, this is the beginning of how I got involved with the Institute, is that I went to this first event, and then, when you start getting 5,000 Nepalese people in the city, you start to notice. Yeah. It's not that big of a town. Of 100,000 people, you get 5,000 and look, oh my. And, it happened to me last night when we were bringing this new family to their new home, and I think they were Congolese family, and they were very large. There was like 13 of them. And the neighbor on the porch, it was a nice night still in November, said, "Oh my God, how many are there?" I said, "I don't know, can you count?" But people are just rude, and I have been in situations where I was helping set an apartment, and the neighbor next to the apartment where we were setting up said, "Wow, wish I got all that stuff, all that free stuff," and you just shake your head. And I've seen it even before I was involved with this, where people have a us versus them mentality. And I think we saw some of that in our recent election. People feel like, and let's be honest, Erie is not in the best situation economically. But conversely, we're like a good test market. We're just about even on all things. It's like they say, if it plays in Peoria. Yeah. And it's one of the towns that's just the right size for these people. But people get the attitude like, oh, well, if this person comes, no matter what nationality they're taking my job. That's the job I could have had. Well, no, you could have had that job. You didn't apply for it. They feel like they're taking their benefits if they were on welfare. Well, that's my welfare check. Well, you know what? And these people, one thing people don't understand is they're not on assistance for as long as you might think. We push them out the door fairly quickly and get them into jobs and into homes of their own, and it becomes their responsibility. But people are just, I don't know, ignorant. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Keep going.
And so, in your experience, what has been the most difficult part of adapting to a new culture for Syrian refugees?
I think the most difficult thing is, imagine this, and I'm in my 50s now, and some of these people, men are in their 50s. Imagine having to start your whole life over again in a strange place. And these people, when they're talking to you, it sounds like, they don't understand a damn thing you're saying. It's got to be terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think they're holding up really well. Because imagine they were terrified in the first place.
Right.
That's what got them here, was terrorism and war and the horrors that they experienced. And so these people are really shell-shocked already when they get here. And then when they get here, you can see it on their faces, though. There's a sigh of relief. They can take a breath. They don't have to worry if they're going to be killed tomorrow. But they're still frightened, and they're still nervous, and they're still upset because they've been through so much. And it's our job to put them at ease. And I'll tell you something that happened just this week.
Yeah.
And it happened to the adults, it happened to the children. And I was so angry. And the children, they started in the morning and they're like, well, we have a new president, we're all going to have to go back. I'm like, no, baby, you're good. You made it, you're in, you're safe. But the parents, the adults were having that same concern. They're like, oh my God, I'm scared again. Do we have to go back? No, you don't. And I spent a good portion of my day that day, probably a half hour with the kids and a half hour with the adults, explaining to them, don't be worried, don't be frightened, don't be scared, you're good. It's all good, it's all okay, you're good. And things may change in the future, but nothing's going to change for you. And so they were really, It hurt my feelings. And I was a little angry to realize that this is how they felt based upon an election.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to say that very diplomatically, didn't I?
No, that was very good. Actually, could you tell me a little bit more about what makes a refugee safe from getting possibly deported versus, like, is that even an option, I guess? Because I don't know much about it.
I would think that the only way they could be deported, and I have had some experience with ICE, I can't remember the acronym. I remember the acronym, but the government agency that handles these things in terms of deportation. Mm-hmm. Really, the only way they could be deported and sent back is if they committed some horrible crime.
Okay.
You know, if they broke the law. Probably, and I've seen this happen in other cases, rather than burden our judicial and prison system with this person that's a non-American, they would just say, okay, back you go. I'm not sure how well that would work, but I think it would happen anyway, regardless of whether you were refugee status or applying for asylum. I think the only way that you would be deported is if you committed a crime.
That's good to know. I didn't know the rules around that. So, other side of the question, in your experience, what has been the easiest part of adapting to a new culture for Syrians?
And the easiest part, I don't know, just being able to live. Just being able to go back and live a normal life. I have this one family, and I've had the whole family. Again, this is where it's amazing for me because I've had the whole family either in my adult or in my child classes, and once their children reached a point to where they were integrated into our school system, our public school system, and I wasn't their teacher anymore, they're going to school just like everybody else.
Yeah.
I think that makes things a lot easier for everyone. The kids are doing amazing in terms of their English skills, better than the dad.
Well.
And but they're bringing it home, and they're actually the kids. And I have found this on every case. The kids are quicker to adapt. They're quicker to pick up the language because they're young and they're malleable, I suppose.
Yeah.
But they bring it back, and they bring it back to their families, and then they actually teach their families. And that is so awesome, and I think that's got to be a real blessing for them. Mm-hmm. And do you know something else? It's going to make these children like geniuses. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but a child who can speak more than one language has a greater capacity for thinking and analyzing and realizing things, and they're just smarter.
Yeah. Yeah, I have heard that actually. Could you tell me more about how they do in public school? Like what the experience is for the kids?
Well, I think, I have been to the public schools with them, and the experience for them is one of acclimation. They are basically, I don't know what the word they use at the school district, but they're basically mainlined into the system. And they're not given very much in the way of preferential treatment. There are occasions where if they're very new and very poorly prepared to speak English, they will have a translator on hand, or they can get one, or sometimes we send one to the school if there's a problem. And if there's an example, say if there's a parent-teacher conference, you know, we have people that will go and help the parents understand what's going on if the child is having trouble adapting. And we have had a couple of children that have had difficulties because, again, and I chalk this up to the fact that they've been through so much,
right.
You know, and some of them are angry, and rightfully so. Some of them have lost their parents,
right,
and have lost their dad, and they're here, and they, honest to God, I will tell you that every refugee I've ever met said, if I could go home, if I could be in my own home, where I came from, without war, without violence, without people persecuting me, they would leave in a heartbeat. They would rather be there than here. Don't get me wrong, they're glad to be here, but like anyone who's been displaced against their will, they'd rather be home.
Yeah.
And so the children feel this way too. It affects them as well. And so on occasion they have difficulty at the school. But for the most part, it's a system of integration. And a lot of the kids, they get the majority of them, they get it really quick, they catch it really fast, and they do really well.
That's great to hear.
This is a much longer interview than I anticipated.
That's all right, you just have so much to say. So, 2 more questions. How would you characterize the interactions between Syrian refugees and other groups, refugee groups or not refugee groups?
That's a funny question. I've had this discussion with them in my class. You know, it doesn't matter, and I think we do it too as Americans. But you've seen my classroom, and as I stand at the head of the classroom, here's the Syrians, all together. Here's the Nepalese, all together. In the back, here's the Congolese, they're all together, and they stick to their own. And so, I have encouraged them, I've said this to them, I said, you know, I understand this, but this is not necessarily helpful to you.
Right.
You know, you need to branch out, you need to make friends with these guys over here, and these guys here, and you need to make friends with Americans. And I tell them, one of the things I tell them in terms of learning English is, good news, you're not the first one. You're not the first one that came here. A couple of years ago, I had a guy just like you sitting here. Right now, he speaks English very well, and he speaks your language.
Yeah.
So you need to hook up with him. Because if you have a partner when you're in the learning process, especially in terms of English, which is a really stupid language.
Yes, it is.
You know, there's so many homophones. Don't even get me started about homophones. All these words that sound the same, they're spelled differently, they mean different, and you have to learn how to take them into context.
Yeah.
You know. And so just imagine how terrifying that is for some of these guys. But they do have a tendency to stick together, and that's true of any group. You know, here in America, you know, you have Little Italy here in Erie, and all those people are there. And the east side was Polish, and the west side was Italian. It's just a normal, natural thing, I suppose.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, the east side was Polish.
Yeah, for many years. And German.
And German, yeah.
Yeah. And we have all these different festivals throughout the year, here in Erie, throughout the summer, I should say. And they have the Polish Fest, and they have the Greek Fest, and they have all these different, they have the Italian Festival, you know.
Do you attend any?
I have.
Oh, you have?
Oh, sure.
Okay, great. I have a friend who's doing her project on ethnic festivals.
Yes.
Would you be interested in
another investigation? You said it was an interview. Now in this paper says this is an investigation.
I'm sorry.
I don't know how helpful I would be. I think I could probably hook you up with someone who runs them.
Oh, do you know who runs the Irish Festival?
I don't, but I can tell you this. St. Patrick's Church is on 4th Street, on East 4th Street. Mm-hmm. And the priest there, if he's not in charge of it, he can tell you who is and hook you up. And if you want, I'll make a call for you.
Oh, thank you. I think she may have interviewed him. I don't know if she did. But thank you, yeah. If you know anyone else who goes to festivals a lot too.
Yeah, I think it would be better to talk to maybe the organizers. But they're just ethnic heritage festivals, and what they do is they celebrate their own ethnicity, and they celebrate their own food and their own drink and their dance and their traditions. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is. Do you think in a few decades, Somali or Congolese or any of them, do you think they'll be able to do something like that? I
feel certain they will, because even as we speak now, this is a confusion between the Nepalese and Bhutanese. Most of the Nepalese are actually Bhutanese people who were thrown out of Bhutan and ended up in these camps in Nepal, and they come here and they speak Nepali, but they're actually Bhutanese. And I only say that because I can tell you that right now there is a Bhutanese American Association in Erie.
Really?
And they had a fundraiser, and I filmed it, and they raised something like $1,500 to send back to Nepal when the earthquake happened. And it was very amazing. And they had a candlelight vigil here in Perry Square. So yes, I feel certain that they will. And I'm going to tell you this, they have had their festivals. I can't remember the name of the spring festival. I attended, I filmed. And so yes, they have already begun doing that, and they had a big dance and a meal and everything down on the Lower East Side. I think they do it every summer.
Wow. Is it open to the public?
Absolutely. I was there.
I wasn't sure if you were like close contact, like family.
No, anybody could go. They have a great support system through the Erie Art Museum as well. And so every time that I've been, Kelly Armour or John Vanko has been there. And then they bring their own friends as well. So yes, it's absolutely open.
Do the Syrians have any like base here yet? Or is this like...
I think it's too soon. Yeah, they're just now getting settled. And I think it would be a serious number of years before they felt like they would even do anything like that. And you know, they're so modest, I don't know if they would.
Yeah.
You know, they're just very modest, humble people.
Okay, last question. It's almost over. Is there anything we didn't cover that you would like to add?
I don't know. I just would like to say how important it is that we treat these people with dignity and respect. And it's not just for them, it's for us too, you know. When you treat someone badly, it hurts you as much as it hurts them, believe it or not. And I would just say personally, I mean, my heart goes out to them in so many ways, from having gotten to know them and from understanding what they went through. And when I see some of the things on the news, it almost makes me cry. I guess I'm too empathetic, I don't know, but these are just wonderful, beautiful people. It is such a joy to have them, as I told you, from babies to children to toddlers to ages 60 and over. And it's been a joy. And I would tell you, the one last thing I would tell you is that we don't do it alone. There are a number of organizations throughout Erie that help a great deal in getting them acclimated. The United Way has been one of them. We have a United Way spot with one of my students, my young students, running on TV right now.
Oh.
And you will see his picture. His picture is like 50 feet high. It's not quite that bad, but it's pretty big. And it's as big as that door, maybe more.
Wow.
And that poster moves from place to place. It has been in City Hall. It has been down at the library. It just goes everywhere. And people are like, "Oh, is that your kid?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so they've been a great help. The Art Museum has been a great help. There's just been so many people that work in conjunction with us to help these people. It's not just us. The recently, I mean, I don't know how I should have never done this. Working with Sisters of St. Joseph, Neighborhood Network, which is right behind us. And I think just this summer, and if you ever hear me say I'll do it again, slap me, we distributed, I think, 70 bikes or more to these people. And that's why they're calling, my friends are teasing me, calling me the crazy bike lady now. Because I took 3 from my home, but what has happened is people are donating these beat-up bikes to these nuns, and the nuns are having people come in and fix them, and they're giving them to our clients.
Wow.
And so you'll see it happen, and you've seen it happen, and they come in and they say, "Teacher, bicicleta, bicicleta." And they have beat me to death over it, but I'm happy to do it. We're just running out of bikes, and I don't think they understand we're running out of time.
It's not going to last.
Soon it's going to be snowing. So it's just been a real joy, and I'm just really happy that I stumbled into this position that has really changed my life.
That's really weird to hear. Okay, very last question though.
Wait. You just said last question.
Sorry. One last question. You've talked about the art museum a lot. What kind of programs do they run?
This is how I met them. This is how I fell in love with this whole situation, because they have every year, and I filmed it, haha, I'll show it to you sometime. One of them ran this year on the station, one of the shows. They have what they call a midday art break or music break. And so Kelly Armour, I think, has been very supportive, and John as well, of the refugee community. And so every year, and they had it again this summer, they have their midday art break is devoted to refugees. And refugees come and they sing and they dance in their traditional language, in their traditional clothing, and it's amazing.
Wow.
You should see it. And I can show it to you.
Yes.
So I guess that's why I mentioned them. And they've been very supportive. And they have had a number of different programs, some that I don't even know about, some I know a little bit about. They have a program where they help mentor different communities to work with children and teach them how we work with children. And then they had made a release of songs that these other cultures sing to their children. Children's songs that you would sing like, Lullaby Baby or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's very different, and they've just been very supportive.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. That's definitely the last question.
Okay, well, I'm so glad this was an investigation and not an interview. That was quite a bit longer than I thought.
Yeah, thank you for all the good information.
Okay, good. Let me know if you need anything else.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll give you a copy of this too.
Yeah, that'd
I
be
may
great.
post it on YouTube.